Hey, Pastor Steve Waldron. I hope you're having a great day in Jesus. Now, this is news from 2015, but I want to make sure people are aware of it because it's kind of cool news. And I ran across it on a video on YouTube the other night. And it's the oldest draft of the King James Version found. You remember several years ago, Ward Allen over at Albany and some of those guys, they found where John Boyce had one of the bishop's Bibles, kind of like a wide margin bishop's Bible that they worked from. Well, this is Ward Allen's notes. Not Ward Allen, excuse me, Samuel Ward's notes on the King James. So we're going to just take a look at this article, some of the things in it, and how it slipped through providence for so long, because it looked like a commentary when in fact it was actually his notes that he was taking on his particular portion of the scripture. So I'm just going to read just a little bit of it to us here. The King James Bible, the most widely read book in the English language, from which phrases like "man after his own heart" emerged, is as storied as it is elusive. Now, a historian claims to have found the oldest known draft of the Christian text written in messy script in an obscure archive at the University of Cambridge. The manuscript was hidden among the papers of Samuel Ward, one of the men commissioned by King James I to translate a new version of the Christian text into English in the early 17th century. So this is just kind of cool. Jeffrey Miller, an assistant professor of English at Montclair State University in New Jersey, chanced upon the 400-year-old notebook while doing research on Ward for essays writing. The eureka moment came when Miller realized that the notebook contained text from the very book that Ward had been helped commission to translate. Miller recalled thinking, "Oh my gosh, he's talking about a book that he had been asked to help translate." Then I realized rather that he was creating the King James Bible in the moment. Describing his discovery in the Times Literary Supplement, Miller said the notebook is not just the earliest draft ever found, but it's also the only surviving draft written in the hand of one of the original translators, which now I think Boyce's would dispute that. Ward's draft alone bears all the signs of having been a first draft, just as it alone can be definitively said to be in the hand of one of the King James translators themselves. That hand was a messy one, it seems. Ward's handwriting is notoriously bad, Miller told Life Science. At least this is from earlier in his life, he added. Ward began his translation when he was just 32 years of age, making him the youngest of the 54 or so men commissioned to translate the King James Bible. His handwriting only got worse with age, Miller noted. Luckily, Miller was familiar with Ward's handwriting from his intense study of the translator's text. Here's yet another kind of picture of that. Appreciate Brother Mallory zooming in. So Samuel Ward would be considered one of the main translators, as a matter of fact, of the King James Bible. He was one of the learned men, and a good one, so to speak, in this translation process. It's just a pretty amazing find that they found this. And I was going to look up something about Sam Ward here, KJV, and tell us a little bit about Samuel Ward. And so we're going to look at this about who is Samuel Ward, this amazing discovery. And again, translating for King James by Ward Allen, I think I've done a review on that as well. Another book about John Boyce. That discovery is fantastic as well. Okay, so he was born, this is Samuel Ward, Bishop Middleham, Durham, and was baptized 13th January 1572. John Ward, his father, was always in financial straits and died sometime after 1599. Samuel had at least 4 brothers and 2 married sisters. He came to Cambridge as a student in 1589, and these people helped him out. Another mentor was Lawrence Chatterton, the master of Emmanuel College. Perkins and Chatterton were staunch Puritans, and Samuel became an ardent Puritan himself. And that's, I guess, the reason a lot of conservatives like Samuel Ward. Though Samuel was to have church appointments outside Cambridge, he spent the rest of his life associated with the university and its colleges. Because he kept a diary, much is known of Samuel Ward's personality, motivations, and views. Those who recorded their impressions of him as well, they knew him, recorded their impressions of him. Additionally, many of his letters, writings, and sermons have been preserved. Samuel did not marry until he was about 50, and then to a widow, Martha, who brought a child into the marriage. Toward the end of his life, Samuel Ward moderated his Puritan position somewhat and was a supporter of the monarchy. Though he was Oliver Cromwell's master at Sydney Sussex College. See, that plays a huge role in British and even world history there. During the Civil War, he was arrested and imprisoned in St. John's College following the capture of Cambridge by parliamentarian troops. While he was confined and became ill as a result of the dank conditions to which he was subjected. Shortly after his release from custody, he died September 7th, 1643. He got a Doctor of Divinity somewhere around in the early 1600s. In 1604, he was chosen as one of the KGB translators, an assignment which he devoted much time over a period of years. And I wanted to read you this about his portion in the translation. That was a little background. Samuel Ward was a member of the Second Cambridge Company assigned to translate the Apocrypha, just like Boyce was. He apparently worked specifically on the Prayer of Manasseh and 1st and 2nd Maccabees, which comprise the Apocrypha's last 3 books. As a translator, he also reviewed and had input in the translation of the Bible in its entirety. His scholarly qualifications were in question. An early assessment of Samuel Ward was he was a scholar of clear judgment, great skill in the languages, especially in Hebrew. Thomas Fuller, who had been, and he's a big name in church theology, been Ward's student at Cambridge, said comparing him to another noted professor, Ward pierced deeper into the underground and profound points of divinity. While at the Synod of Dort, Ward shed light on how the translation was reviewed and edited. He explained that after the companies had finished their final translation, 2 translators from each company, for a total of 12, were chosen as a committee of revisers to make one of the final reviews and edits. So, he played a huge hand in this, translating the Apocrypha, not so much, but then in going over the whole Bible. It's a neat discovery. And, the King James Version is, I've gone over this in several videos, that the surprise would be is if it had an error in it. Because they went through so meticulously by so many different hands, with so many different skill sets, with so many different company of translators. It wasn't the work of one man. No one verse was the work of one man. It was really the work of 47 different people. And then others could send in their suggestions and things as well, many thousands. And so going over it word by word, so again, meticulously and diligently, when you really see how the King James Bible was translated, again, I've done videos on this, I don't want to rehash that, but each translator in their company translating all the books, coming together, then sending that finished work to all the other companies, them bringing it back, giving their suggestions, going over it, and then going over it again as a company, as it said, of 12 at the end, word by word, stop, don't do that, do this, on and on and so forth. Again, the surprise would be is if there was an error, because they were supported by the king. They had all their time to do this, and it took them still about 7 years. Talk with you later. Just read that book, love it, pray it. God bless.